If you're looking for a class setup that complements your aggressive playstyle, then I believe I have a class that you might find interesting. This class is basically designed to run into the opponent and do as much damage as possible and try to get as many cool feeds as you can in the time that you have. The weapon of choice for this class is the Model 680 Pump Shotgun because it is probably the manliest shotgun in the game. Also, pump shotguns are genuinely just really fun and rewarding, so that's why we're going to be using that weapon. I'm going to put up some timestamps on the screen now in case if you're only interested in something particular. But if not, we're going to start with the loadout of this weapon and then move on to the playstyle and then other aspects that you might find useful. When designing this class, I wanted to make sure it met 3 main criteria. 1, it used the 680 shotgun. It did the most damage at the farthest distance as it could without using the slugs, and it needed to be as mobile as possible. Let's start with the muzzle. I'm using the Tac Marauder. This is because it has an increased damage range as well as a tighter pellet spread. This is exactly what I want when designing this class, is the range as well as a smaller spread. This way I can have a lot better accuracy at longer range. The sound suppression is also a major bonus because I like to be a little bit sneakier and stealthier. Even though in this game it doesn't do too much, however it is still a feel good kind of thing. For the barrel, I use the Sport because it increases my damage range as well as gives me a tighter spread. This also complements the muzzle, so it's just, again, giving us that damage we want at a longer distance, as well as the consistency with the tighter pellet spread. The main difference between this and the Liberator is this gives us a 10 round tube instead of 5. The SWAT is absolute trash in my opinion. I wouldn't even touch that thing. Just use the Liberator until you get the Sport. We also have the 5 milliwatt laser. As much as I hate this attachment because it is visible to enemies, you kind of need it. It gives you hip fire accuracy as well as the sprint to fire speed. The sprint to fire speed is incredibly important because as you're basically sprinting the whole time, and you need to get your gun from your sprint mode to shooting as quickly as you can. And anything to increase that time is something you need to have on your weapon. So sadly, you need to have it, even though the downside is that the enemies can see you. However, you just gotta play smart. We'll get into some tips in a little bit, talking about how to manage the laser. But for now, just put it on your gun, you need it. We're using no stock because it increases our movement speed as well as our aim down sight speed. The main thing here being the movement speed. This is pretty standard. I mean, I think most people that use shotguns just run around with no stock because it's just unnecessary. I also have an underbarrel attachment, the XRK. This helps with the recoil control as well as our aim down sight speed. It's not incredibly important, and in the video you'll see me mostly using the Merc foregrip. These two attachments are very similar, however the XRK is just a slightly better. I will link a video in the description about someone who discusses this into greater detail. This person, Elgu M. Taff, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. He does an incredibly insightful video breaking down every single weapon attachment for the Model 680. In this video, he explains differences such as the difference between the XRK and the Merc foregrip and explaining how it's very similar. However, the XRK has a very slight increase in your aiming down sight speed. This is important because you should be aiming down your sight when using this weapon. This is because it makes the pellet spread much tighter, thus doing more damage if you're more accurate. In all my clips, you don't see me ever aiming down the sight, which is kind of incorrect. However, it's just a personal preference. I always add a deagle to my classes, mainly because the deagle is one of the coolest pistols to ever exist. I also enjoy the suppressor on all my weapons, so if I can equip one, I will. The perk 1 slot has probably the best perks that you can use for this class. Quick Fix, EOD, and Doubling Time are all perks that I would consider. I mainly have been running the Quick Fix because I enjoy going on feeds and I feel like this helps me with that. EOD helps you to survive, and in Doubling Time just helps you if you're on larger maps to get to where you need to be faster. For your perk 2, the only 2 perks I would consider are Ghost and Hardline. I always run Ghost just because all the other options are kind of trash in my opinion. Hardline, you get basically 1 free kill for your kill streak. However, I'd rather have something that would benefit me in getting more kills than just be given basically a free kill for the kill streak. For your perk 3 slot, you should probably only consider Battle Hardened. Not only is this perk really good on this class, all the other perks are just really bad. I tried Tracker and I didn't really notice anything too significant that impacted my gameplay. Most of the time if I saw their footprints, I already saw them previously, so it didn't really help me find people, and if anything it actually distracted me from my mission because I would see tracks and I would go after the person and it turns out that another person was right behind me. So if I just continued my plan, I would have gotten the kills, and so yeah, I just thought Tracker was a distraction. You can try it though, obviously, it helps to experiment. Battle Hardened is just good. For the lethal slot, I'm running the throwing knife. The main reason I have this on my class is because it gives me kill potential at a reasonable distance. Since I'm using a shotgun, I'm very limited to my range. However, with the throwing knife, my kill potential is actually increased incredibly far. Obviously, it takes a lot of skill and timing to get the throwing knife. However, it gives you the opportunity to do so if you need. Some other ones to consider would be the frag, semtex, or C4. However, again, these are not instantaneous kills and they require time to use. With the throwing knife, I can just click a button and I can basically kill someone incredibly fast at a good distance. For the tactical slot, I almost always run the stim shot. However, some other ones I would consider are the flash or stun grenade. For the field upgrade, I feel like dead silence is the most obvious choice. I feel like that's not really debatable. I think you just use it. It increases your movement speed. It resets after each kill. It makes you quieter. There's nothing really more you can want as a shotgun user. So if you're not using this, I would like you to discuss why you're not using this. Use dead silence. It's crazy OP. If you enjoy becoming a super soldier, the specialist setup would be ideal for you. I typically don't run this because I enjoy kill streaks. However, I'm not going to stop you. If I had to run the specialist, this is what it would look like. It would go EOD, hardline, battle hardened. Basically, you can't get blown up from stuff. You're resistant to specialist grenades, and you get hardline, so the next perk you get immediately. Then you go ghost, quick fix, and double time. Again, it's personal preference, but this is what I would do if I had to run it for the shotgun setup. Let's briefly discuss the laser sight and how to manage it so you don't give away your position to unexpected enemies. It's kind of obvious. You gotta hide your laser on the wall, position it so it's not just in the open when you're trying to round a corner or something, because if someone's around the corner, they're obviously gonna see you. So you have to be able to position your laser sight on the wall, but in a direction where you're gonna be able to quickly react to if someone were to appear in this doorway or open area. I'm not sure if you're on PC or console. However, I'm on PC, so I can have my crosshairs on a wall and quickly be able to flick it in the direction I need very quickly. This may require you to play on a slightly higher sensitivity if you're playing on console. However, I'm not too familiar with it. It's been years since I played on console. As long as you're aware that if you have your laser sight through a doorway or just through an open area, the enemies can see you. So you just gotta hide it, be aware of it. As long as you're conscious of it, you should be able to manage it in certain scenarios and not reveal your position. Let's discuss some keybinds. This game isn't really that demanding where you're going to need a bunch of keybindings and do all this other stuff. However, there are some things you can do that'll help your gameplay. I'm not sure again if you're on PC or console. I'm mostly catering to the PC people for this segment. For my crouching, I have it on my mouse. This way I can quickly just use my thumb, go boom boom boom. I can crouch, go up and down really quickly. I don't need to use any of my fingers for my movement. That's why I can move and crouch at the same time. Very important in my opinion. I can also slide. It keeps me incredibly mobile and unexpected. I'm not sure if this is also standard, but on the mouse wheel I have my throwing knife slot. This gives me so much control when I'm throwing my throwing knife because I just gotta hold it down with some pressure of my middle finger and then I move my mouse. It's very simple to me and it makes a lot of sense, and it definitely, I feel like it does work. Let's discuss how to use this class. You can have the best class in the world, right? But if you're using it like trash, it doesn't matter. You gotta know how to play the class. So, how do you play this class? Well, you gotta be aggressive. You gotta rush. You gotta know your range. You gotta be confident in your decisions. You gotta also not think. There's a lot of things. We'll go into them briefly now, but I mean, if you want a separate video about it in depthly, I would love to do so. First one, you gotta know the map. I mean, this is kind of obvious though, right? Like, no matter what, you gotta know the map, but you gotta know the map for the shotgun. When using the shotgun, there's some parts of the map you just have zero chance of winning the gunfight, and you have to know this. So how do you avoid those sections of the map, but still most of the time you need to get through them anyway? You gotta know all these locations, and you gotta know that if you want to go through this part of the map, you just gotta go. It's also important to hug the edges of the map. I know for most weapons this is also the same principle. However, for the shotgun, it's pretty much standard. I like to play objective game modes where I know where the enemy is gonna spawn or I have a rough idea. What I do is I just sprint to behind that anticipated spawn point, and then I start my onslaught. This is because you want to hit them from unexpected angles. I mean, again, for most SMGs this applies too, but for the shotgun especially, because you only get one, maybe two shots. And if you don't hit the right target, that's another thing too. If there are two people in front of you, how do you know which one to shoot? And how are you going to have the decision? Do you think you're going to have the reaction time to decide which one you want? You just got to know which one you got to kill, and then you got to just do it. You also have to have the confidence in your decision making to also just turn off your brain. I don't mean that shotgun users are brainless. I just mean that there's some things you just gotta have not like an instinct for, but you just gotta do it. If you think about it, you're gonna lose your opportunity. And using the shotgun, especially sniping too, if you're sitting there thinking about quickscoping someone, you ain't gonna quickscope them. You just gotta do it. You gotta have the muscle memory or psychological memory, whatever you want to call, to just do it. Again, it's just a game. Just get out there and shoot some people. Just the more you use the weapon, the more you use the class, and the more that you understand what you need to do with using this class, then the better you will become with it. It's just kind of one of those things. The more you practice, the better you get. The game modes that I mostly play are domination, but again, I don't really care too much about the game mode as long as the map is more important. I really like the shoot house, rust, and shipment. Shipment's kind of just anarchy, rust is kind of the thing in between, and shoot house is probably one of the best maps actually in my opinion, because it's the most fair, it's got the most things you can do, you can use like any weapon on it. But yeah, the shotgun on shoot house is great. Some other game modes I would consider are hardpoint and headquarters, however domination is my go-to. Like mentioned before about the importance of crouching, you can see in a lot of my clips I do this like bob and weave kind of thing where I'm ducking behind walls and stuff and using my environment to my advantage. This is something you can use very effectively as a shotgun user because you shoot your gun, then you have this like 0.5 to 1 second delay where nothing's happening. You can't shoot, you can't really do much. So what do? You just hide. Like as an SMG user or like a AR, you can still keep shooting, or you can hide for a second and keep shooting. But as a shotgun user, you don't have a decision. You make a decision, you shoot. Your next decision is you wait. So in that waiting period, you can't do anything except basically hide. And that's why you gotta position yourself on the map so you're able to do this crouch weird trick. As long as in every game you're playing, you're slightly improving, you're understanding some of your decisions that you made, you're understanding the movement around the map as well as how to use your environment, you will improve as a player, not only with the shotgun class, but just in general. I hope you enjoyed this guide, and if there's anything else you want me to discuss further, such as decision making or certain maps in particular, managing like the laser sight or something, I'd do that. I mean, I'm probably gonna do it anyway. However, if you specifically want something, let me know. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you get out there and start shooting some people. And yeah, pump shotguns are probably the best gun in the game, bro. Thank you for supporting this wonderful weapon.